Okay, so here we go for the script, the indicator, the other one, the helper script. So that helper script has been made specifically, and as the name says, basically just to help decrypt a little bit more of the market momentum. And so I'm gonna dive right into it and try and explain each and everything of this little helper indicator. So I'm going to add it to the chart. There we go. And so the helper indicator, as opposed to the basic one, is not an on pane indicator. It's an on chart indicator, right? So this is where it should show on your chart. So there is a couple things with this, and every single thing can be shown, used, or ignored, or displayed off, basically. Again, and that's going to depend a lot on the asset that you're trading, the time frame that you are looking at, and your overall trading style as well. What works for one does not necessarily mean it's going to work for the other, right? So uh, let's get started with the very first things that you're going to see. So I'm on this, again, Bitcoin US dollar chart, and I'm on the 3 hour chart. And so the main thing is this: you have a few components to it. So there is this curve, red and green. What is that? It's the EMA on a 21 length settings. So this is not the fast curve representation on the chart. This is just an EMA line, right? The changes from green to red simply follows the color of the cloud. Green to red. Okay. So that's for the EMA curve. The other thing that you're gonna see are those white diamonds, and those basically represents volume spikes. So if we take this example, right, it basically represents a spike of volume compared to the previous 5 or 6. So basically, what it does, the way it works is it does an average volume, right? And if the current candle makes a volume that is a certain amount higher than the average, then it prints a volume spike. So it's not perfect at all, but it can help in some cases with the asset that you're trading. And just as an aside, you can actually create an alert of the volume spike. So if I go and create an alert in there, I select. So instead of checking the basic one, I'm going to use the helper one. And on this one, I can use volume spike as an alert, right? So we're going to see a little bit later on the settings on that, and how you can adjust the settings to get the sensitivity of the volume spikes lower or higher, right? So that's for the diamond. The red triangle, as you can guess, are the signals that you're going to see on the basic, right? We should have a, yeah, there you go, green triangle over there. And last but not least, you get the horizontals there. And I like to use those when I do daily trades, so daily scalping, especially the daily ones. So basically, what it shows is it shows the previous daily close in yellow, the low, sorry, the open, the close, and the high, and also the 50%, so between the high and the low of the previous day, not the current day, but the previous one, right? So if we check this, that was the high on this previous day, right? That was the close, low, open, and low, right? And the 50% is right there. And you will notice, so that's the kind of limitation to it, is that I cannot, of course, display that for each and every candle. So it's only going to be displaying that for the previous day so that you can scalp, you can trade the current day with that. So that's the kind of limitation that you're going to hit, is if you, like, if I were to give you an example on how to use it properly, it's pretty hard to do unless we simulate the whole thing, which I will do in the follow-up videos with example trades and example live trades, right? But on this specific video, unfortunately, you're gonna have to take my word for it, so to speak. So, like, as an example, if I were to take the 15 minutes, right? My daily close, previous daily close, was right there, and as you can see, the 15 minutes for actually, hang on, what time is it? Oh, it's only, yeah, okay, there's still 15 hours, so it basically just closed. So that's not not a very good example, but so technically, the way I would use this is, if there is a pullback, and there's probably going to be one soon, right? Red cloud with the fast going on the cloud, and probably going to use it as resistance and come back down. That being said, we are on a Saturday. It's on a weekend action. Weekend action can be a little bit tricky, but technically that would be a 15 minutes short signal. And my guess is that on next candle, we're going to print a short signal there. But knowing that I have a short signal, right? If I were to take this trade, my first, I would say, target would be the daily 50%, right? Um, Now, just because it's there doesn't mean it has to bounce from it, doesn't mean it has to react to it. It can do many things, but that is usually what I use on a daily basis, on daily trade, to gauge basically my pullbacks and my short, if I were to play that short, right? And there is the same thing for the weekly. As you can see, you have the previous week high, open, 50% close, and low. There's a little display glitch with the low, it's on the line. I'm gonna, by the time that you add the indicator to your chart, that's probably gonna be fixed already. So those are basically the main components for the little helper. Now here's the thing: everything that you see in the helper is meant to be modified to your needs. So it's like the basic settings for it are working out, so to speak, but it's meant to be modified based on your needs, so based on your asset and based on the time frame that you are trading. So, as an example, okay, if I'm trading this 15 minutes, I don't really care about the weekly, right? Because I'm trading on an intraday basis, on a 4 hours basis, basically an alpha day, so to speak. And well, of course, unless we get moves like this, which is not uncommon for Bitcoin, but if we unless we get moves like this, like the main thing that I'm going to be trading are going to be this, that range, right? And so in order to not clutter the chart unnecessary, I would probably hide the weekly ones. So how to do that is, you go to the settings of the helper script there, and you can simply say right there, show weekly horizontals. If you uncheck that, the weekly are gone, right? Now, for the daily themselves, you have a couple settings. You can change their color. So what me personally like to do, I like to put it a little bit lower, just so it doesn't explode my eyes, right? Like this. That for me is enough. And what I also like to do is use the offset and the size. So the offset is where is it going to be on the chart based off the last candle, right? So if I were to say I want it on my candle, so to speak, there you go. See, it's basically right down the candle. And the size is really how many candles width you want for that to be. So what I usually like to do is something around that. when I trade on a daily basis. That to me is good enough. Now, again, if you are trading, basically trading, swing trading, then you will be usually more interested into the weekly horizontal instead of the daily ones, right? And again, you can modify the weekly ones the exact same way from the daily. So that was for the daily, right? The weekly sets are right there. So I just put it for the sake of the example there. Let's put it blue. We're gonna put it 5 offset and 20. There you go. Right, so you can adapt that to the way you want. Me personally, I don't usually use the weekly, especially since I'm not trading in the weekends. So I'm not even there for the weekly close. So it's not really that relevant to me. Now, about the other settings. So you have let's talk about, let me see if I can, I'm going to go back on the 3 hours. There you go. I'm going to actually, I'm going to keep the volume there. Yeah. Okay. What I'm going to do actually is like this. There you go. Okay. So the other settings. We're gonna check the volume spike last because it's the most, I would say, complicated to get a handle of. But the EMA is, so if you don't know what it means, it's exponential moving average, right? So again, it's the curve. So just for the sake of it, we're gonna remove everything but that. There you go. So we only have the curve, and actually, I'm gonna need this to show you the cloud. Okay, so the AMA, you can change the length. So if you are used to trading with a certain EMA length, personally, to me, again, if I trade on the daily, I like using the 21 EMA on the 15 minutes. That's what I like to do. If you are taking big swing trades and maybe you want to use the 8 on the daily, or the maybe even 21 on a weekly, and things like this. So it's really up to you. Again, that's something that you need to adjust to your needs, to the asset and time frame that you are using, right? So on the 15 minutes there on the EMA, I'm going to show you a couple example as to why I like to use this, because it it shows a good confluence, usually with the momentum and the jewel and the cloud and everything. Okay, so let's take, for example, this is a very obvious one, right? And that played out very well, but doesn't mean that they're all gonna play out this way, right? So, but here's the thing. So you have this one didn't play out like I wanted to. You have this one played out exactly like I wanted to. So that's actually two very good example, and this one is the counter example to it. So if we're gonna take those three signals, right, and we have the EMA, as I mentioned in the previous videos, my cloud there is still green. Even though I have a signal, my cloud is still green. I personally do not take those signals. Again, what I like to do, me personally, wait for the bounce on the fib and goes back up. If I want to play it long, I take a long entry there. If I want to play it short, I take a short entry there, right? But here's the thing with that EMA in the way, right? Let's say I would like to play it on the long side, and I have this bounce there on the fib line. Then the EMA there is, I'm going to use that as my guidelines, so to speak. And as long as the EMA, as long as the candles are closing on a closing basis, very important, not on a week basis, on a closing basis, are over that my 21 EMA, I consider my long to be into a safe spot. Again, for the sake of the video, I'm just making it simpler. But technically, you would go into the other time frames, see if the other time frames agrees. If it's a very if it's a long position that you're looking for, or if it is for short entry that you're looking for. So that's not the purpose of this video right there. So I'm just keeping it simple, right? But technically, there's again the due diligence that needs to be done before taking the trade, right? But so if I were to take that on the long side, I would use the 21 EMA as my guidelines, right? Now, if I were to play it short, and if I was looking for short entries, then that would be an obvious one, right? Because we went from the bullish zone, bounce off the fib, and now we're using the cloud and the fib there as a resistance. So that would be my entry right there. And in that specific case, we actually open and close below the 21 EMA on the 15 minutes. That would be my entry. And again, I know when my trade is going to go wrong, basically, when if I based it only on the EMA, when I open and close above the EMA, right? That would be my trigger to say, okay, this trade is not going to work out in my favor. I'm not interested in it anymore. Let's get out of it, right? On the dual itself, you have other telltale sign, so to speak. I'm gonna show you real quick, but the big telltale sign is this: you are bouncing from the fib again. So basically, you are rejecting the bullish. So technically, you right always still in the neutral zone, even though the cloud is red and is dropping down. You're still the fast curve is still in the neutral zone, unfortunately. So not yet the one that you're looking for. That being said, this is the perfect example, and I would use it again. So the cloud is aiming down, right? We just closed below the EMA. We just went under. And my fast is bouncing from the fib, bouncing from the cloud. So that's a lot of confluence. If I were to if I was looking for short position, that would be the entry, and that would probably be around this candle, as long as we close again under the EMA, right? And boom, kada boom, that one worked very well, right? When do I close the trade? So you have many ways to do it. Again, technically you would be using horizontal support and resistance, and plus the previous daily close and all those things, right? Depending on your trading style. If you were to base it only on the dual and the helper, then the very basic way to do it would be: my cloud is changing from red to green, my fast is bouncing there, and I'm starting to close candles above the EMA. That would be my exit sign, personally speaking. Okay, that would be how I would do it if I had just that at my disposition, right? Just the dual and the EMA. So that's the, in my opinion, the best way to use the EMA. Just as an aside, so the green and red basically directly represent what you have here. So in other words, this is just there to help you, instead of doing the full analysis on and having the basic G-wall on the chart plus everything, you can just have a quick look and saying, okay, on my 4 hour, check it very quick. Okay, we green. Right, that's it. It's just there to help you for that. If you don't want to see the cloud, again, in the settings, very easily, you can do that. And that would be with cloud transparency. So right now it's at 90, right? 90% transparency. If you put it to 100, it's just going to go away. No more cloud, right? By the way, same for the EMA. If you just don't want to see the EMA, you can just click on that. At this point, you have nothing else, right? But so there it is. And if you want to see just the cloud, yeah, there you go. All right. So, I mean, it is up to you. It's really just there as a visual little help, quick help, so to speak, where if you have multiple screens with multiple charts, you don't have to look at both at the price action and the dual. You can just have a quick look at the EMA with the size of the cloud, right? Because the size of the cloud represents the one that you have below, right? You can see uh, right there, right? You can see it contracts over there, size of the cloud. So you can gauge when it's about to turn green or red, and basically to know if you're on the right side of the trade. And yeah, so that's it for the EMA cloud. Now, long and short signals, very simple. They are exactly the same thing as those. One small note on of the signals: if you change the sensitivity and the smoothing of the basic, right? Let's try that. You see what I'm talking about. You're gonna have again more signals, but the helper is still using the default settings, so to speak, right? So um, unfortunately, there's no way in TradingView to link the two together so they can use the same setting at the same time. I will add in the future in the helper a way to modify the smoothing and sensitivity, just in case you want to match both, right? Which would make sense. It's just a little modifications that I have to do. Um, but I'm gonna add more things to the helper, and I'm gonna update the video anyway over time. But yeah, just that this thing, if you modify the default settings on the basic, they are not followed up on the helper, so the signals will not match the one from the basic, right? So just as a quick side. Uh, so the signals are very simple, right? It's the signal that we are all used to. And finally, the volume spikes. So volume spike is an old thing in and of itself. So I personally don't use the volume spikes a lot, but I know a lot of people use that, especially in forex trading. They like to use volume spikes for especially on the 5 minutes and the 1 minute time frame. And but you're going to need to change the sensitivity for the of the spikes depending on what you're trading, right? So the default settings are okay for a couple hours time frame on Bitcoin. Now if I were to say go to a forex one and go, yeah, let's take this one, and we're gonna go to, so on the 4 hours time frame, right, on forex, it's useless. Like the average of the trade is going to be, and the volume is always going to be there and it's never going to change, right? Because it's forex. So that's why you need to be able to adjust that. So let's go to for example, on 1 minute. On the 1 minute you can see some spiking and some not spiking. So if we're going to go yes, let's go on this one. Why this one triggered? It's because the past 5 had an average of something like that, right? And so this spike here triggered this, right? So let's say you want to change that. Go to the settings and the sensitivity there. Oh, there's a typo. The sensitivity there is what's going to allow you to change that. So if I go to, for example, a 1 of sensitivity, then what it means is as soon as my volume bar is 1 time bigger than the previous the DND average, trigger a volume spike. So of course, as you can see, the 1 is very sensitive, and I wouldn't like, but that makes it pretty much useless, right? Whereas the 10 would be pretty much useless, right? It's basically the helper is waiting for a volume bar to be 10 times bigger than the past 5, and so that makes it entirely useless. So it's up to you to find the default sensitivity that works best for you, and again it depends a lot on the asset that you're trading and the time frame that you are looking at. So that really, like, there is no unfortunately there is no default settings that's going to work for everything. It has to be experimented with and back tested with, and this and that, right? So, and again, once you have set your volume spike sensitivity properly to your liking, then you can set up the alerts for it, and it's going to trigger the alerts properly. So that's pretty much it for the helper. Just a quick word. Oh yeah, the yeah, the 1 minute cloud. For some reason, the 1 minute cloud on the Forex is like this. It completely blows up. I am not sure why it does that, and I'm gonna have to modify a few things on specific asset. But again, it's very very specific for that. So if you need to change, right, the cloud size and the way that basically that it shows, you can do that with the cloud scale, right? So right now it's on scale of 1. Um, and it's going to be inverted. No, okay. So now we make it bigger like this. So if we go with a scale of 0.1, so basically 10% of the scale what it should be, so it's already a little bit better. Let's go to 0.2, and that should make it readable. There you go. So that is also something that you can adjust based on the asset and the time frame that that you are looking at. Again, on this, there is no default settings that works for everything. Sorry. So experiment and backtest with, see what settings look best for you and are the most useful for you, and yeah, just let me know. Last final word on this. The helper is something that's going to evolve quite a bit. I want to add quite a few things to it. I want to add volatility, and other little things like this to the helper indicator. I'm going to add all that, or maybe a separate one, because maybe TradingView is going to tell me that this one's too big. But I'm going to add more to the on chart visual cues and help based on that. Not so much adding more to the basic one, but adding more basically around it, and what helps make better calls basically. So this is something to be you want to be on the lookout for. In any event, at any time there's going to be an update to it, I'm going to send a newsletter, so an email. If you are not subscribed to the when you register your account, if you're not subscribed to the newsletter, you will not receive the email. So just just as an aside, so you might miss on the fact that there is an update, and there's probably a video that explains the update. So if you want to modify that, you go to your account on the website and you check mark the subscribe button. And so that's pretty much it for the helper. Hope you liked it. Hope you find it useful. If you want to see some very specific things in the helper that you think are going to help, please contact me, let me know, and I will happily take that into consideration for any other future updates. That's it. Let's move on to the next video.